Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. I am thrilled to be co-hosting with SellerSmile. They are an amazing customer service expert, and we have put together slides jam-packed full of actionable advice. On that note, our topic is top 9 customer service mistakes Amazon sellers make and how to avoid them. I do want to say if you are making any of these mistakes, that's okay. We all make mistakes, and we have tons of tips on how to remedy those, how to prevent them in the first place, and how to provide amazing customer service on Amazon, but do it in a compliant way. With that note, these slides are very jam-packed. We may not go through every single bullet. It's intended for you to refer back to and to provide you actionable tips in the future as well. And on that note, again, you will receive this recording and this presentation by end of day to the email with which you registered. And then we will have a Q&A section at the end, so please drop any questions that come to mind in that Q&A section on your GoToWebinar panel. And without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to your first host to introduce himself, Ty.
Hey everyone, hope you can hear me. My name is Ty Walters. I am the co-founder and CEO of SellerSmile. And one fun fact about me is about 5 years ago, while hiking in Tennessee, I was bit by a Lone Star tick and I contracted an allergy to mammal meat. So after eating brats and hamburgers my whole life, I have to now eat poultry and fish and a lot more vegetables. So that's me in a nutshell.
Hard to follow that. Hi, everyone. My name is Brittany Startzel. I am one of the account managers here at Kaspien on our agency team, Marketplace Growth Partners. I have been in the e-commerce space a little over 6 years now, and am very proud to share that I have a cat that looks strikingly similar to Wilford Brimley. He unfortunately wasn't able to make it as a panelist today, but perhaps in future webinars.
Oh, I love that. That's hard to follow both of you guys. So I'm Kennedy. I've been with Kaspien for, let's see, I joined in 2017, so a couple years now. And though I don't have any tick bites yet or any cats that look like Wilford Brimley, I have run into a cougar on a hike before and finally understood what it felt like to be a hamster, just fear pulsing through your veins. So that's what I have to bring to the table here. All right, so I'll get it kicked off here. So who is Kaspien? We are a tech-enabled marketplace growth firm. We were founded in 2008 as a third-party seller and have evolved over the years to offer retail, agencies, and software divisions. You may know us by the name eTails. That was one of our former names. But we are Kaspien now, and we provide software and services across multiple major e-commerce marketplaces. You may have heard of Amazon, Walmart, Target, etc. So our main mission is to optimize and grow brands on today's online leading marketplaces. So that's Kaspien.
And SellerSmile is your outsourced e-commerce customer team. We're a group of e-commerce customer service experts, and we help brands maintain all aspects of their customer service, not just emails. We're doing live chat, reputation management, and really building and managing policies and strategy. We were founded in 2017. My coworker and I were both customer service agents, and we were integrated into the development team and the research team and the design team. And I think the addition of that voice of the customer in those meetings really helped improve the products. And we'll talk more about that in terms of e-commerce. We're based in the US, but we're quite an international company. We have clients all over the world and team members all over the world. So we're really expanding, and SellerSmile is omni-channel as well. We started off as Amazon experts, especially from our days at Seller Labs with Feedback Genius, but we've really expanded to everything, eBay, Walmart, Shopify especially. So we're able to pull lessons from all of those channels to inform how we manage Amazon as well. And SellerSmile's mission, with AI and deep learning and all these bots, I think SellerSmile's goal is to really impart that human touch or inject that human experience into customer service. When you reach out to a brand or a company, you really feel like you're connected with an expert from that side, and they really understand you and they can help you along your way, whatever you may need. So that's us. We're really trying to make it personal again. So like Katie mentioned, we want to present some of the 9 biggest mistakes that we see. This isn't meant to make you feel bad as a seller, not at all. Rather, we see a lot of opportunity in identifying these mistakes and maybe just changing the way you do things a little bit. But by far, I think we all agreed the #1 mistake is not responding within 24 hours to your customers. 24 hours is the bar, the mark, so to speak, that Amazon sets for their sellers. And this is even embedded in their service level agreement. If you do not respond to your buyers quickly enough, you can expect to see a whole range of consequences, including frustrated customers, low star reviews, chargeback claims, A to Z claims, cancellations and returns. All of these things we want to reduce as a successful seller. One of the best ways to make sure that doesn't happen is by being slow. And as you can see, we have a nice screenshot in here from Amazon's buyer seller messaging. Each one of those messages has a little clock ticking away and it's in red. So Amazon's making sure you see that and pay attention to it. And it's really how we've structured our service to make sure we can respond every 24 hours, every day of the year.
Yeah, and as we were talking about this, I remember one that came up was the people don't like waiting at the airport for their baggage. Like when they get off the plane, and they would rather be walking to baggage claim and just knowing that there's forward motion, that something is happening, someone saw their message, even if you don't have an answer yet, rather than standing at baggage claim wondering like, do they even have our bags? Did we have bags? Did we pack today? You know, like, so I just keep things moving forward with your customers and just acknowledge them along the way so that they know things are moving forward.
We all had great examples. Waiting in a traffic jam, you're on hold on a call, a slow download. All of those things can kind of send you to anger really quickly, and your customers are no different. So how do you really approach this? Because that sounds like a lot of work, and we've found some things that work here. So with Amazon's expectation of 7 days a week responses, we need to develop a system around that, because any one person, it would be very difficult to handle that. We recommend sharing customer service with at least 2 to 3 people on your team. This is when you've reached, well, starting off, of course, but even if you're not getting a lot of volume of messages, just that one that you miss really could make the difference between a positive or negative review. So share that responsibility, share shifts. We all need days off, and that therefore we all need to be trained really well and have a consistent experience for our customer. There are other options as well, depending on your size or where you are, or where your needs are. Customer service agencies exist, just like SellerSmile. We're more of a kind of a full service boutique type of service. There's international or domestic virtual assistants. You can hire one off to become a member of your team, or you can consider adding employees to your team. But either way, whether it's existing team members or another solution, make sure that responsibility is shared. And as we've mentioned, Amazon knows that a fast response is the best experience. They're the leaders in customer experience. They know what makes customers happy, and they're allowing the seller to sell on their platform. So you need to abide by those expectations as well. And over on the right side of the slide, we have a great sort of metric here. 1 check-in per day is okay. We really advise at least 2 check-ins per day. That'll allow you to be a little bit more flexible when you hit that email inbox next, and keep it under 24 hours. And if you do have the resources, 24/7 round the clock support, keeping your response times low would be the ideal situation.
Perfect. So moving into mistake number 2, which is not setting expectations. Inaccurate expectations is typically the catalyst to a frustrated conversation down the line, be it coming in the form of a review or a buyer-seller message. So being as proactive as you possibly can is going to be key to avoid some of those situations. And really, at the end of the day, it comes down to what exists in your product detail page. Some brands will use misleading or untrue claims in the text of their product detail page, or perhaps an image that isn't terribly reflective of what the actual product is and does. And we've all seen examples of this, right? I was looking at one the other day that a young boy had bought an inflatable pool for his backyard. When it actually arrived, he could only put his 2 feet in it. So not the luxurious pool experience that he had hoped for. And while that's comedic in nature, it does lead to a really frustrating situation. Times are tough. People don't have money to just be throwing to the wind. So they want to have a buying experience that is true and accurate. But the flip side of that is not having enough information. Amazon gives you the tools to really mimic as best as possible a brick and mortar experience. So they provide a gallery so you can upload multiple images that should be clear and crisp, and include lifestyle images so you can see how big is the product, what does it look like in my hand, trying to really mimic that sensory part of a brick and mortar shopping experience, but doing so on Amazon in a virtual fashion. This is incredibly important for products that are complex or maybe have a high return rate. Taking a moment to really audit the listing content and understand, perhaps I'm not explaining this as I should because you're so close to the product. It's not usually a malicious situation. You know your product best, and so you know how it works and how it functions. But taking a step back and trying to look at it as the shopper and maybe phrase things a little bit different so it's more clear in the beginning of the shopper journey exactly what that product does. Obviously, videos are key in that way. You can explain so much more than just through text or flat images. If you're able to put together educational videos, they're always helpful. And Kenley, I know you have, you recently went through a situation like this. I don't know if you want to share how that went about.
Yeah, videos play a huge role in just helping customers quickly understand your product and just give it a little bit more of that aesthetic feel that people want when they're buying. Like they want to be drawn in, they want to quickly understand it without having to read step-by-step instructions. And we had a video where we kept seeing, or excuse me, a brand where we kept seeing huge return rates every month. And a lot of the feedback from the customers was the same, and it was seemingly a really simple issue. So we talked to the partner about it, we got some samples, just filmed a video for that. But after doing it myself, and I was like, okay, I can see why there's some hiccups here. So hopefully these videos like really help customers understand the product. It helps mitigate any of the return issues, helps mitigate the need for some of that customer service in the first place, but also just gets them excited about buying it. They're buying the right size. And then another thing that's really helpful is even in videos or in listing content, you can tell someone what size they should be measuring, or what kind of thing they should be using to measure. But people people are going to guesstimate. They don't have a measuring tape on them at all times. So it's really helpful to add in things into your charts. Like if you say like, okay, this like dog bone is like 7 inches, but then like next to that you could put like a small pencil or something, just to kind of give a quick little gut check that like any language, any measurement system, like you're going to understand that pretty quickly, and then that will help you size up or size down. And then if you want to get specific, you can actually measure. So things like that really do make a big difference and help mitigate a lot of customer issues up front.
The voice of the customer feature inside of Seller Central is a place where Amazon is helping a seller understand more of these inaccurate expectations. This is a really cool feature where several places of information from your customers are kind of collected together, and Amazon ranks your listings from poor to really great. The intention here is a seller can quickly go to this page and see which listings are sort of maybe in jeopardy or which ones need the most attention. And Amazon will display some of the rationale behind that negative rating, as well as help you take that next step of fixing whatever the issue is. Maybe you said it's a 6-pack, but it's actually a 12-pack. So that's an easy fix. Maybe there's a different color. Well, now we need to maybe switch out the inventory or change the listing, but whatever it might be, take a look at the voice of the customer page, especially if you have maybe over 50 or 75 listings. It's difficult to keep all of those managed at once. Amazon's helping you do that by showing you which ones have the loudest complaints associated with them.
All right, so I'll mute there. Yes, that's a really, really great tool to be using, especially with large catalogs. Another one to be using, small or large catalog, but is your shipping and delivery timeline. So essentially, you want to make sure that your shipping and delivery windows are set appropriately, again, to set customer expectations so that what you're saying is aligning with what they're seeing. So if COVID is affecting your supply chain, or if I don't know, just people are out sick or anything like that, account for that. And so you can change your default ship time in Seller Central. Typically it's set for 1 day, you can adjust it to 2. or you can individually do it by product, and it's kind of manual. It's a large process if you've got a really big catalog, but for example, over Christmas this last year, COVID was affecting many brands and supply chains across the world, as were just the shipping crisis. So one of the brands that I was working with, the manufacturing plant was backed up. They support several brands. And so we knew that it was going to take longer to get these customers the items, but because they were furniture items, people were willing to wait a little bit longer. So we were like, do we put 6 days and kind of hope that we can make it, or do we put 6 to 10 and just let them know, like, hey, there's a bigger window, but knowing that people will wait a little longer for furniture? And 6 to 10 was totally fine, and it was great, and we didn't see customer issues, and then we were able to change it back afterwards. So I truly think that kind of just a couple of those little adjustments, even though they're pretty manual, are worth it to set your customer expectations and ultimately help sales over the long run and prevent canceled orders as well.
Absolutely. And to wrap this section up under mistake number 2, returns. That usually is the outcome when there is an unhappy situation with a shopper. So there's a couple pieces to this. And the first and foremost is a lot of brands don't know that they fall in a particular category that doesn't allow for returns. And you can see how long that bulleted list is. And it's pretty generic. Grocery products, it's a wide range of products that fall within just that category alone. So initially, making sure you understand, is my product one that cannot be returned, so that you can create some sort of proactive solution to support that return request. And we'll talk through what some of those are throughout the presentation, but really making sure that you're informing yourself of where your product lands as far as returns are concerned. And then the second piece to that is a lot of brands don't understand that the seller determines the return policy. So if you are a branded manufacturer and you sell within your listing, but you have, let's say, 3 other authorized resellers, you may perhaps provide a return policy, but if you're not communicating to those other resellers, and let's say one of them doesn't provide returns, that shopper is going to be frustrated with that particular situation, and they're not going to necessarily put the blame back on that seller. They're going to associate that with your brand. So making sure that you are taking the time to put together really clear policies for all of your resellers on the channel, and communicating what that generous policy should look like from a return standpoint, so that it's a very holistic approach to how you're going about returns. Oh, Ty, you're on mute.
Thank you, Brittany. Make sure you have a plan for returns and that miscommunication, absolutely. Right behind that, one of the mistakes that we see causes the most frustration is just being impersonal in your customer service communication. This is like being rude or just being kind of harsh or even just stale with your words. And I'd like to speak to 2 situations here. The first one is when you miss or you misspell the customer's name. Now, we have a quote here from Dale Carnegie: "A person's name is to him or her the sweetest and most important sound in any language." I think that quote helps me remind myself that I'm working with a person on the other end of this email, and I need to treat them with respect. And there's several ways that we can do that within an email. How to avoid this? Well, number 1, make sure you double check if the customer shared their name or if you see that inside of their order history. But at SellerSmile, we use a customer relationship management software tool. We use Help Scout. Zendesk is another common one for customer service. And these types of tools allow you to build templates that will automatically add the customer's first name wherever you'd like in the email, but usually right at the top. So that's the first thing the customer sees. It instantly gives them hope, kind of faith that they're connecting with the right person. There's a human on the other end of that communication, and they're going to receive help. And this also provides just confidence. And if you get it wrong, we mistake the name or spell it wrong frequently, you can always recover. A nice apology will set the communication back on the right track. Another situation that we see commonly happen is we rely maybe sometimes a little bit too much on the templates that we're writing. They are time efficient, but in some cases they can kind of be like a square peg in a round hole. So what we see, and a good example of this might be one of our clients sells medical equipment for end-of-life care. And so sometimes we're dealing with customers who are just in a sensitive situation, maybe their family member is sick or they've just lost them. So we found that in those situations, we have to tone our language down a bit. We remove exclamation marks. Any reference to kind of over happiness is scaled back. And I think this goes a long way when a customer can see that a human in red actually ingested the message and kind of met them wherever level, whatever energy they were at. I think that matters so much. So before you hit send on your email, there's a few things to check. Make sure you look at the greeting. Is it repetitive? Is the first name correct? Move to the body. Is the right information there? The correct links? Did they ask a question that you're missing the response to? Make sure it's all there. And generally the final sign off, make sure the call to action is correct. Do you ask them to do the correct thing? And then the final note right before maybe the signature, have a great day. That's okay, but maybe have a great Tuesday. It's a little bit better, shows a higher level of customization, higher level of personality. And you can really match that to your brand's tone. Maybe you're happy-go-lucky. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you're just high energy. Whatever that might be, make sure it's coming out in the language with which you used to communicate.
Love that. Yeah, that does make a very big difference. I've seen that one in action for sure. All right, mistake number 4. This would be directing off Amazon. So this is a mistake for a couple of reasons, but what's not allowed, it's against Amazon policy, is sending an external link. So if a customer is asking for, say, an instructional video and you don't have any on Amazon, but you have a whole YouTube series of how to, do this product or fix it or anything like that, unfortunately, you can't direct them off Amazon. Those are really good resources to have, but Amazon's guidelines don't permit any messages with external links that are not proper links or Amazon links. So make sure that the information you're providing your customers is on Amazon, it's within Amazon's policies. And a couple ways to avoid kind of overstepping there would be make sure the links have the Amazon.com domain name for order completion. Keep all the necessary assets and materials on Amazon so you can direct them in a white hat way. And when it's not on Amazon, keep it in your template collection. So you can utilize resources like your customer mailing list or just your YouTube channel or any of your other social medias or ads you're running. You can address some of these questions in those ways and hope that those customers see them, but not directly respond to a customer question by sending them off Amazon. So this is just really important to make sure that they're getting the right info up front. And again, goes back to making sure that your product detail pages are correct, complete, and address any questions that you continue to see coming up from customers, because clearly they need to, there's a knowledge gap there. So make sure you're paying attention and fill that stuff in and staying within Amazon's guidelines to continue selling on the marketplace.
And Kenley, I wanted to add to that. Sellers have many reasons to direct customers off of Amazon. They want to capture the contact information for their newsletter, or the profit margin is higher on their website. So we're familiar with all of those reasons. Don't be tempted by them. Stay on Amazon because it's worth it to stay selling, keep your account active and in good rating.
Yeah, agreed. And this is one that's kind of, I'm gonna say this is an iffy one, but if you really are at the point where you need to direct someone off Amazon, you can always say, please reach out to us directly. We don't recommend this. Please stay on Amazon, but that is a way you can do it. It's just very vague. And as Ty pointed out, it's not something you would do in a brick and mortar situation to send them out of the store to finish their order right there. So try to avoid doing that if you can. And just make sure that your resources on Amazon are setting you up for success with your customers.
So coming back to Amazon, the 5th mistake we've identified is neglecting the seller reputation. And when SellerSmile thinks of reputation management, we think of all the public places where conversations are happening about your brand. This is in contrast to the private conversations you might be having in buyer-seller messaging, just in email. These are very important places because it's visible. There's so many more eyes on it, and I think it's an indication of the performance, the customer service experience of your brand. So one area we'd like to focus on here within Amazon again is seller feedback. And just a quick note, seller feedback is different than a product review. The seller feedback is a rating of the experience itself, maybe the customer service or the fulfillment aspects, whereas the product review is of the physical item itself. So seller feedback pertains to you and is most important to you if you are fulfilling your own items. If you're selling fulfilled by Amazon, FBA, Amazon is really representing that seller feedback score, and if any low ratings come through, they'll take responsibility and they won't penalize your account for it. But if you do have a fulfilled by merchant type of situation, you will be responsible for those ratings. So at SellerSmile, we have a service where we monitor seller feedback on behalf of the brands we manage daily, and that involves us going in, looking and scanning for new seller feedback and taking action as necessary. What that means is we're requesting removal of seller feedback that is inappropriate or not fair. We're appealing that seller feedback which is stubborn, which Amazon won't remove automatically initially. And anywhere else we can help if we see an unresolved customer issue, or just like a really great compliment maybe from a customer. They just love the product and they wanted to share, they love the service, especially seller feedback. We want to be in there and show that we are grateful for that. If you see a brand is getting as pumped up as the customers, I would want to shop from a brand like that. So on the slide, we can see we can post a public reply on seller feedback. That's always warranted. And we have an example of Kaspien seller feedback here, and they've attained a very high ranking, 99% positive ranking over the lifetime of their seller account. This ranking will make your selling account more competitive against other sellers on the marketplace. So make sure that you're keeping your seller feedback rating high and you're attending to any issues that might come up. Just a final note here, Amazon does have criteria. We've included that on the slide in the right side, where they've included criteria where they'll allow or permit a feedback to be removed. There are cases that fall outside of that, and Amazon is really encouraging a seller to work one-on-one, seller and customer, to resolve their issue in order to maybe remove that feedback or get it updated. So very important, take a look at your seller feedback.
All right, so moving into mistake number 6, which is not actioning feedback. And when I talk to my brands, one of the biggest pain point involved with not actioning feedback is the time involved. And it does take a lot of time to comb through product reviews and looking at your seller feedback, going through questions and answers, buyer seller messaging, voice of the customer, even just saying all of those different areas to check took time. So understanding that fact, it is so important to go through and really understand what is the honest and transparent feel that your shoppers have for your product and your brand. And it is one of the key ways to really scale when it comes to Amazon. We know how many brands and sellers are there, and it continues to grow day over day. So really standing out from the crowd is so important. An example of a client I worked with was in the grocery space, which is all competitive all on its own, but very much focused in health and fitness. And over the course of about a year, product reviews had continued to mention the sugar content is so high, it doesn't really align with our fitness goals. You know, we'd really love if you could reduce the sugar. So this brand took that to heart and worked with his manufacturing to completely redo the recipe for his particular product and relaunched his evergreen catalog to really meet customers where their needs were. And being heard as a shopper is so important because it's kind of rare. I mean, if you're shopping in a brick and mortar, you don't have a way to direct your comments to that brand specifically. On Amazon, you can. People can share how they're thinking and feeling about their buying experience or their particular product. So make sure you're combing through all of that. And really quickly to touch on the questions and answers section, this is a big one, because not just the brand manufacturer can respond to that, others are able to give an answer to a posted question. So make sure that that answer is correct. And again, this sort of comes back to, going through your product detail pages, making sure you have accurate information within it. That does include that questions and answers section to make sure that not only are the questions actually being answered, but that they have the correct information with them, and brownie points for getting a little special badge when you do that as a brand. It just shows that you're taking time out of your day, you really care about the messaging that exists there. And always say thank you. Thank yous go so far. It feels good to have your feedback that is shared be appreciated. So make sure you take an extra second to really thank that shopper for sharing their thoughts as well.
Agreed. Yeah, I've seen that really come into play with some more technical products, such as just mattresses or kids products, where people are very, very specific, as they should be. And same with any ingestibles, just it really matters. Same with beauty, a lot of categories, but those ones in particular. So next mistake would be not using Amazon's tools. So in particular, there is a new tool that came out in April of this year called Amazon Engagement, Customer Engagement. And this kind of dovetailed off of Amazon Posts. So Amazon Posts is a social media-esque feed that kind of looks like an Instagram feed that you can post just kind of product updates. You can link to listings, multiple ASINs at once. It's kind of a choose your own adventure situation. But Amazon recently linked those to your brand store, and customers can follow your brand on there. And posts are kind of what draw them in and attract them to your page. They want to learn more about your products. They like your kind of aesthetic, your sense of humor, like whatever it is, they're following you. So it's a great way to draw people in. And then through that tool, now you can manage customer engagement. So pretty much any of the shoppers that already follow your page, brands can now reach out to them directly through an email campaign. So they'll have to put together an email campaign, put together a brand logo, essentially a product that they wish to promote, and a delivery window. So it's kind of short and sweet, but it's a little blip about their upcoming products coming out. And so they can only reach the shoppers that already follow them. So your goal here would be to get more followers and then have this kind of direct line of access. So once you submit the campaign, the email campaign, Amazon will review it, and about 72 hours later give approval. And then those emails will be sent to the followers of your store within 5 days after delivery. So this is a really great tool to be using. It's a great way to promote new products, and the delivery, and the messaging can only be done for products that are 6 months or newer. So this does not apply to old products or huge catalogs. It's just anything that's really new. So the goal would be to kind of drive new sales and more customer engagement here. So yeah, be promoting this on your social channels, get people to follow your brand, not just on social media, but on Amazon now, and really take advantage of this. So this is a great way to get a little bit more information out to your customers and help increase sales too.
Definitely, we were talking about that tool, and that's a great segue here. This customer engagement might be the first time Amazon has allowed brands to reach out in a marketing type of intention in terms of their products. For so many years, sellers have been trying to do this through buyer-seller messaging campaigns like you might do in MailChimp or just a normal email setting. So it's exciting to see that Amazon allowing more tools and avenues. Mistake number 7, still another tool we have here, is buyer-seller messaging. And the reason that this one made the list is because I think most sellers view buyer-seller messaging as maybe like an inbound only tool. If a message shows up there, I got to get rid of it and then I'm done. But actually, I would say this is probably the best way to request a review from your buyers, from your customers. And there's a lot of misinterpretation and confusion around this because Amazon has updated their policy so many times. But today, in 2021, Amazon still allows sellers to send at least one unsolicited message to those customers that have ordered from them. So if you're not asking for reviews, you're likely just going to get less of them. And that's okay. There'll be a natural organic review rate. But if you find the opportunity to ask, and especially if it's in the right way, if it's in a genuine way, especially if it's in a way that's compliant, then we will believe you'll secure more reviews for your products. And there's 2 main ways to do this. One would be just in the buyer-seller messaging communication. If you're already in communication, you can add that to your email and just say, hey, think about writing a review. You seem to really enjoy this product. It'll help others find it as well. And if you're maybe you don't have an email thread started, another way to do this is to click into your orders page on Amazon, and in each order, if you click into it, you'll see an opportunity to click a button that says request a review. This is one of a newer feature Amazon has released to give sellers just another way, another tool, a compliant way to reach out to that customer to really try to secure that review. And as you can see, we have Amazon's terms of service quoted over here, still stating product review and seller feedback requests are A-OK.
And one important thing to note, I think the brands can get tripped up on is the way that they ask for this. You can definitely just straight up say, we would love if you would review our product. So keep it short and sweet like that. Don't never ask for a positive review. And even if you're asking them to reconsider a review, you can just say, please reconsider reviewing our product. Like it needs to be just very, you can't sway them one way or the other essentially, but yeah, you're well within bounds to just ask them to review a product. So take advantage of that.
Absolutely. No conditional statements, no incentives, just very vanilla. This tool is the one I'm most excited about at SellerSmile. It was a newer tool, and it allows sellers that have gone through brand registry to directly message those customers and reviewers that have left a critical review, which is a 1 to 3 star rating. And this is such a different feel from Amazon. Usually we were trying to find this information ourselves, seeing if we could connect the reviewer to the order, because then as the customer service team, maybe we could send them a message and try to fix their issue. And Amazon has made this a lot easier, a lot more direct for us by giving this tool within the dashboard. So if you aren't brand registered yet, one of the main pieces of information you'll need is a trademark. And once you've secured that trademark, you can enroll and go through that process. But the main point I'd like to discuss here about this feature is the different template options. So once you click that contact customer link, you'll have the choice between 2 templates, a courtesy refund or a customer review template. They're similar, but I would like to note that the customer refund option is promising or offering either a refund or a replacement to that reviewer. Before you send that template, just make sure that you have any inventory necessary if they do opt for that replacement. We prefer to send the customer review template initially. It's a little bit more general. And if they don't need a replacement, we'd rather not offer it and then not be able to follow through. So if you're looking to reduce a number of negative reviews that are showing up on your account, I think this is one of the best ways because you're directly connecting with the customer, and hopefully after fixing their issue, they'll update that, and your ratings will exceed and continue to be great.
All right, so mistake number 8, not having a plan for refunds. There is typically a pretty clear step process. Customer receives the product, they're not happy with it for one reason or another, they want to return it, and they want a refund. So making sure that refunds are discussed, that you do have policies around them, will be really key. And one of the mistakes we see often is a really harsh return policy. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's with malicious intent and they're not wanting to offer that to shoppers. Sometimes it's a really expensive product, or you have slim margin and you can't afford to have a lot of returns come through. There's a variety of reasons that someone would put together a really strict or a really harsh policy. But at the end of the day, it is going to lead to a pretty negative customer experience and most likely a low star review or some sort of negative phrasing in the form of a review. So if you can, and wherever possible, try and match Amazon's generosity. They have really created a platform that sets a precedence of what customer service should look like in the online world. So trying your best to match that where you can, given your particular situation and your product type and catalog. But there are a lot of options with this. So, you can go the return less refund route. Perhaps you want to set a dollar threshold with that, so you're not allowing returnless refunds on products that are $200 or greater, but really examining your product catalog and perhaps splitting it up so that you can figure out what products that matches and which ones it doesn't. offering prepaid returns is a great way to go, especially if it's one of those products that falls in the non-returnable category. Then you can make sure that that return makes its way to you at your warehouse and you're still able to provide that refund to ensure a good customer experience all the way around.
So related to refunds, this is sort of the other side of it. Number one, have a plan of knowing how to treat your customers with the refund, whether it's partial or full or when to issue that. But on the other end, sort of an unaddressed end, I would say, is the seeking of the reimbursements for the refund. Typically when a mistake occurs with an order, let's say it's lost or it's damaged or maybe it's just very late, we usually understand that as it's the seller's responsibility to make the customer whole. With a new product, a replacement, maybe it's a full refund, whatever it might be, but they're really the steward of the situation in our opinion. But we also don't think it's fair that the seller should just absorb that cost, and especially if they're not at fault, so to speak. So the major reason why this is a mistake is because it could really eat into your profit margin depending on your products again and depending on the level of activity that you see here. One way to avoid losing a lot of profit in this process is to communicate with all of your partners, any 3PL warehouses, even FedEx, UPS, USPS, any carriers that you might be working with directly, and of course, Amazon themselves. Figure out if they have a process when these negative situations occur that you get some kind of compensation or you can file a claim with them and get reimbursement. This might entail you selecting a certain shipping with insurance. This might entail other aspects. But when a situation for this doesn't exist, SellerSmile can actually build that for a seller. So it's basically, we just create a sheet and we create a record of any claims that we submit. Maybe there's a photographic evidence, maybe there's a dollar amount threshold that we set. But we try to work with that partner, and if they can really understand that, yeah, we made a mistake here, we're not gonna let you pay for that. So if you're not doing this already, consider how you might in your business. It is quite a bit of extra legwork, so you could create some standard processes to speed that up. If you have a greater team, you can share the responsibility there. But at any rate, make sure that you help the customer first. Don't make them wait till your 3PL gets back to you or till the claim is resolved by USPS. It could be weeks, it could be months sometimes. So help the customer right away, but then file that claim and come back to it to make sure, well, that you get what you deserve, so to speak, or at least you know the result of that claim, so then you can get a better accurate estimate of your profit margin.
That's a great call out. And kind of dovetailing off of that, it's just don't wait until your customer deserves it. And so that can look many different ways, but for instance, I had a client earlier this year, they sell mattresses. So they're really big items, they're really expensive to return. And this customer said that their story was a little fishy all around. Like nobody really believed it, but in true fashion, these guys were just like, it's okay, just on the off chance that this customer is telling the truth, we want to maintain their business and we want to still show that we're there to help them and then figure it out later. So they reimbursed them, and it was, I think, a $3,000 mattress. So it was a pretty big reimbursement for sure. But then they took the necessary steps from there to figure out, is there any kind of cost recovery? Is there anything that went wrong along the way? And ultimately, the customer ended up leaving a positive review. And so either way, it was a win-win on either side. And though there was some loss margin there, they were able to figure out that there was an issue that actually wasn't the customer, despite what we had originally believed. So just treat everybody like you'd want to be treated in this case, and just make sure that they're getting the all-star treatment until proven otherwise. So I think either way, help them out and then figure it out, because customers should come first here. Yeah, and that wraps up mistake number 8, I believe. All right. So mistake number 9, not planning for other channels. And Ty, I'll let you pick this one off.
So today's presentation is all about Amazon mistakes, because Amazon's the biggest player. That's where all the customers are. That's where the sellers want to be generally, and still that's the case. However, even if you plan on just launching on Amazon or never selling on any other channel, there is going to be quote unquote off Amazon activity that you'll be seeing in and around your brand, in and around your business. So the way we see this occur typically is that an Amazon seller will be operating for a few months. Then they might see their products pop up on eBay for sale from some other random seller they've never heard of. It's completely legal to buy and resell products in most cases, so this is expected. However, customers will be confused. They'll buy your brand and they'll reach out to you on your website on Amazon, but if it's from a different seller, it can get confusing really fast. You might feel like you want to help them as the brand, as the representative, and you're more than welcome to. But typically what we do in that situation is we help connect that customer with the original seller of that product. And that might be showing them how to do that through whatever platform they claim they purchased through. But we believe, again, just like we said earlier, the original seller should be the one that offers that assistance. Another way to approach this, instead of just being prepared for these kind of random inbound communications, is to just start selling in those places. If you have a selling presence in eBay and you're a brand owner, you're likely going to have the best prices. Competition is going to be tough, and you're going to be able to be an actual representative for actual customers there. It'll be less confusing for all the shoppers that see your products, because they'll see the brand owner, the manufacturer perhaps, operating on that marketplace. But no matter what, once you're selling on Amazon, you're kind of on the internet everywhere. So make sure you have a nice website, even if you're not selling from it, with some additional contact information, at least an email address where they can reach out to you, and expect it to come in. It'll ramp up slowly, but there's really no way to prevent it, so be prepared.
All right. Hi, everyone. I am back, and we are here for the Q&A section. I do want to start off this with a poll just to get a sense of who's in the audience. So you should see a poll on your screen right now. I'd love it if you could answer that, and then we'll tally it up and see who we have here. Drop your questions in the chat. We have a few that will have come in, so I'll start with those. I think it's safe to say that there's been a mentality that it's Amazon's customer, and maybe you're selling on Amazon, but they own that customer, so customer service doesn't need to be as good. What would you say to someone who is in that mindset, and to convince them to shift over to really take Amazon customer service seriously?
From my particular point of view, you're wanting to protect that reputation, and that's something that we covered here. So looking at the customer as only Amazon's customer may lead you astray in really trying to create a holistic experience for your shopper and your brand. So making sure that you do follow a lot of the tactics that exist within this presentation to change your scope of reference and how you are viewing that consumer or that customer, and making sure that, yes, maybe Amazon has the data and they do a lot with it, but at the end of the day, you can utilize that as well. You can take the information and the data that they have, mold it to fit your needs, and really strategize how you can use that to your benefit.
Yeah, I'd like to add that that's the way we phrase it. It's Amazon's customer. They own much of the experience, much of the data. But I think we've seen a trend where they're actually sort of opening up the ways that sellers might communicate with their customers. And I can see why you might think it doesn't matter, but if you're able to leave a solid impression on that customer, they could turn into a repeat customer. That's how word of mouth spreads. And I think it's a lost opportunity if you're not willing to step into that role and to represent your brand. Because Amazon customer service, they could probably do it okay, but they don't know your products and your business like you do. And I think all customers really want to get it from the source.
Yeah, I think that's so true, especially with tech, like any kind of technical product or anything really, really specialized. Like there is industry experience that you guys have that anyone on Amazon, you have a degree of, but it's not even close to the same as the actual experience you bring as the brand owner. So don't be afraid to jump in, bring that to Amazon, and just see that customers, I think more than ever before, are truly fluid. Like, they are your customer if they're only on social media, or if they're only on direct websites, or only on Amazon. They truly now really meld together, especially as things like Amazon Pay pop up that make that kind of experience blend on your direct site, or on Amazon. Like, if you're out of stock, say on your website, like, they'll go to Amazon now. There's just, it's so fluid. So I would really try to look at it as truly the whole thing is your customer, and they're the same person often. They're just coming at you from a different side.
Great answers. Thanks, guys. And you know, it's clear that people need to really pay attention to Amazon customer service and treat it seriously. What would you say, and maybe this is for you, Ty, on somebody who's trying to scale their customer service and make all these improvements that we've talked about today? What would you say to someone who's considering outsourcing versus bringing it in-house?
Outsourcing versus in-house. First, in-house typically tends to be a little bit more expensive from both a time and a money standpoint, because you're typically having to support either someone full-time or part-time. And if you're based in the US, you know, there's minimum wage and requirements of all that. An outsourced solution, typically we see sellers interested in when they're looking for either value or massive scale. Value in the sense that you can outsource fractional work and tasks to a VA, to an agency. And even if it's not fractional tasks, if you have a low amount of customer service in general, an agency can give you a fractional price to represent that workload. If you bring someone in-house and there's only 3 messages that come in that day, you're gonna have to think of other ways to have that person productive for your team. And that could be attractive if you do have a brick and mortar store or other tasks, so to speak, that they could be responsible for. We see that blended approach, multiple responsibilities with one agent. But I think in all that, it depends on your price. I would start from the standpoint of like, who's my brand, what is my brand, and what do we need? That might entail we need super English speakers because I have a very complicated technical product. Maybe I need technical customer service agents because it's so, maybe I'm in the beauty category, so my customer service agents should have familiarity and be makeup consumers themselves. I think starting there and then looking might help you find what you need.
Yep. And whatever sets you up best to scale as well, like based on where you are in your Amazon journey too. Yeah. Great. Okay. The next question is, this is a technical question. So we don't always get notifications for questions that are left on the listing. Do you know if there's a good way to make sure we see all of these in regards to, those questions on the listing?
Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit. You're right, there's not. So it does become a situation where you're building in some sort of standard operating practice that includes checking in on each of your listings to see if there is any questions asked. And I realize that that is very manual, very time consuming. But however you approach Amazon, you're looking at a lot of those metrics anyway. So perhaps you spend an hour of your day in Seller Central checking for a new buyer seller message, or checking your inventory, or your advertising, whatever it is, you're spending time on the back end. So building out some sort of SOP that allows you to have a function of time spent on the front end as well. So actually looking at your product detail pages as the customer would, and including that, the questions and answers section. Having your team help with this, it can be a shared situation, but making sure that you do prioritize it as best you can, and understanding that it is going to be a little bit manual until you get it down and you include it into your day-to-day functions.
Yep. Thank you very much. I did want to note too, I'm sharing the poll results just so everyone kind of has a taste of who's here. Okay, the next question is, what kind of policy do you recommend to service customers about products that are past the 30-day generous return window? For example, when an Amazon customer service calls us about a purchase at 31 days after purchase, what would you do?
I was going to say, okay. I was going to say, personally, I would say when you can afford to respond generously, do. I think that's a perfect example of one of the pillars of SellerSmile, but is surprise and delight people. And that would be a surprise and a delight. So, I mean, who among us has not wanted to return something and missed a day? Like, so if you can afford to do it, do it. If it's a huge issue margin-wise, then I think you're fair to stick to your guns there. But that just kind of sums up my thoughts on that.
To add to that, from the customer standpoint, when you figure that out, like, oh no, it's late, I can't return it, you're kind of upset at yourself, you're just devastated, and it's like a last ditch effort. Maybe if I reach out, they'll be generous. So think of that as your customer's thoughts. And I think as a seller, that situation presents itself as a huge opportunity, because if you do show that generosity and kindness, they're just, the overjoy relief that they'll feel, I think will go a long way if you're looking for a review or if you're looking for that word of mouth. And yeah, 24 hours doesn't make that much of a difference. So I would be generous where you can. I think those policies are probably more or less in line to really to prevent the worst offenders, but execute it with that nuance in mind, and I think your customers will appreciate it, especially when you're more generous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and even as a customer, that would help me want to buy from that brand again. It just gives me a little bit more trust knowing that they're flexible, and so I'm willing to reinvest if I maybe would have been deterred easily. So I think that's a great response.
Great answers, guys. We have one more that's come in, and it's about product inserts. So you talked about not directing off of Amazon, but what about that gray area of including product inserts in your packaging that might ask for a review or direct to a different URL? What do you say is best practice there and is compliant?
You're allowed to put packaging inserts in. Again, don't ask for positive reviews. That's a hard and fast Amazon policy. So just say, we'd love if you'd take the time to review our product. And you are able to direct off Amazon there. One great option is a QR code that could take them to the website, or potentially offer a little gift card or something like that. Again, I think you just want to be really careful that what you're putting in that insert is all Amazon compliant, just because there are different rules for the buyer-seller messaging and listing content versus what's in a packaging insert. So just be really, really clear on those policies and make sure that you're following them to the letter of the law there. But other than that, yeah, use packaging inserts to your benefit. I think they could be awesome. And Brittany, I believe you just did one with a customer, right?
Yeah. So we embedded a coupon code into the product insert to help drive traffic and repurchases back to Amazon. So the customer receives their package, they open it up, and there's a little business card sized insert that has compliant information as well as a coupon code for 20% off the next Amazon order that takes place. So they can be really beneficial to help create just a unique buying experience, but also have a little treat or a little carrot at the end to help drive customers back to Amazon to continue to purchase there.
I used to sell handmade coasters. Well, actually, I still do, but they've all been packed. But I added a little business card and a handwritten like thank you on there, just hoping to make that extra connection. But Brittany, I really like what you said, directing them back to Amazon for other purchases, especially at a discount. Amazon's going to love that, and why not? It's going to really increase the health of your listings with all that extra activity.
Yeah, for sure.
A theme I've been picking up through this conversation is you can really use customer service to foster return customers. There's, just that you mentioned, requesting reviews, giving a good experience. So yeah, I would say that can absolutely help. Okay, we have 1 minute left, and we had one question come in, and it is around, or one more come in. It's around, are there any nuances between Vendor Central and Seller Central about what we've talked today? Specifically, if someone's selling via Vendor Central, is there any nuance? And the question is specifically around requesting reviews.
No, there shouldn't be, especially if it is focusing on review language. It should be exactly the same. Amazon's policies are pretty much a blanket when it comes to what you can and can't do when you're requesting a review. So no, there shouldn't be any differences from a Seller Central or Vendor Central standpoint.
Great. All right, well, thanks guys for your questions, and thank you for our wonderful host. And SellerSmile is generously offering a discount here on your first 3 months. If you are in the position to outsource your customer service, you can visit their website there and get in contact with them. And then if you have any questions for us at Kaspien, contact us via our website. But thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to our wonderful hosts, and we will see you for our next webinar. Have a great day.
Bye, guys.
Bye.